Oh, let me make myself. Sorry, I was small on the screen. Hi, 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 hi. We are back. That's right. Can you guys see me and hear me okay? Let me know. Okay, okay. Let's get right into it. We got a lot to cover. A lot is going on. Hello everyone. Welcome back. If you missed the previous live, we did do the Idaho 4 victim lawsuit against Washington State University. So definitely make sure you go back and check that out. I think it was a very, very, very well done lawsuit, document, etc. Hi, 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 hi. Okay, so please make sure you hit the like button as well. We got a lot to cover. Turn on your notifications. We have another live after this. So busy day in the true crime world. I appreciate you guys for being here. I saw Evie, I saw Debbie, I saw Fem, Cree, Tippy, Asane. Hello, hello, and old days. Thanks for being here. The title is Timothy Busfield, Nick Reiner, and the TEPE murder case. I don't have any idea who Timothy Busfield is, but we'll get into it in a second. I do want to cover the Nick Reiner portion of this, but I don't know. It might be too long of a live, so I might do that alone because there's a lot to cover there as well. So we're going to start off with Timothy Busfield, just because it's been all over social media and YouTube. I believe he's an actor. I read somewhere that he was on like The West Wing and 30 something. I have no idea who the man is. All I know is allegedly he has now been charged with SA against a 16-year-old and I believe 2 twin males. So I'm going to get through. What we're going to do is we'll give you a little bit of background. We'll read an article. We're going to watch him in court today, a short clip, a short news clip. We will read the criminal complaint. I didn't know, we read 126 pages in the last live, so this is going to be no problem. I'll get through 12 pages quick. It is actually the court document, and then we will move over to the Ohio double homicide case. I want to watch Oppressor, which is just a couple of minutes, and then watch a segment on it. So I appreciate you guys for being here. Yes, yes, yes. Hi, Angie. So this man, nothing has proven yet, and nobody has been convicted. He did have court today. We'll watch a TMZ clip on that. Here's a summary of the charges against him. There's reports of Timothy grabbing boys in the genital and buttocks area. Another report of an on-set employee witnessing Timothy kiss another boy in the face. Multiple hospital staff reporting suspected sexual abuse of the boys. So I don't want you guys to get confused because there's a lot going on here. So initially he's charged for this, or accused allegedly that he essayed 2 twin boys. And then this morning it dropped that someone else spoke out, and it's a 16-year-old female. So we're going backwards. It's like it started off with the 2 boys, and as of this morning, now there's someone else coming forward. So there's a lot of moving parts here. But also, yeah, he is an actor. But also, and you know what? Surprisingly, he's connected to the Reiner family, which I was going to try to incorporate all of it here, but it might be too long a live. So maybe I'll do the whole, like I said, I'll do the Nick Reiner segment tomorrow. I'll schedule it if this is too much, but there's connections there. But anyway, so the 2 twin boys, the 16-year-old female now, but in 1994, there was a 17-year-old who was an extra on the film Little Big League who sued Busfield alleging assault and inappropriate touching. That case was settled privately. In 2012, there's an incident where a woman filed a police report accusing Busfield of SCX battery in a movie theater. Prosecutors did not pursue a criminal case, and Busfield stated that the encounter was consensual. So now the twin boys and now the female. So, and we know how we feel about crimes against children here. It definitely does not tickle our fancy. We're against it. It's disgusting. So let's go back to the details of the document we're going to read today. So, essay of the boys, multiple employees reported concerning behavior regarding Timothy, including one staff member saying that everyone knew to keep away from him because he was creepy and quote unquote handsy. Um, he was, I guess, they didn't arrest him right away. I believe he was not exactly on the run, but that's what people were saying. So I guess we'll listen to the news segment. But he is married also to Melissa Gilbert. I'm just, maybe from a different time. I don't know. I don't know who these people are. Uh, I know he's a very prominent actor, though. And Melissa Gilbert is an American actress as well, right? Politician. I believe she was president of the Screen Actors Guild as well. I think that's all I know. And now that she's married to this alleged pervert. So staff reporting, so basically Timothy changing his story when asked about tickling or picking up the children. Staff reporting it was possible there was times when Timothy may have been alone with the children. Reports that adults could monitor their children with iPads, a practice which Busfield stopped as soon as he was hired. So this is all basically what's in the outline of the criminal complaint. So I'm gonna pull up a people. I don't understand these people, dude. Handsy. Your mom loved that show, really? I didn't know he was married to Melissa Gilbert, though. Yeah. The dun dun. Going back to 1994, I mean, it's kind of grody, right? So this article here says Timothy Busfield, we're starting backwards. Remember, we're going with the 16-year-old girl, and then we'll go on to the twin boys. Timothy Busfield faces new essay abuse claims by 16-year-old girl whose dad says actor begged for therapy instead of police. I have a problem with this because whose dad would I'm assuming there was some kind of financial agreement here, but I don't know. That's my opinion only. And I guess he is, innocent until la 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 la, whatever. We cover true crime here. That sounds good, Cree. She did Little House, but the dude did 30 something TV show. Yeah, I have no idea. Busfield, who surrendered to police on January 13th, faces 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor and 1 count of child A for involving an incident involving 2 twin 11-year-old boys. 11-year-old. Disgusting. Is facing another allegation of SA after he surrendered to police on Tuesday, January 13th. So yes, that was yesterday, depending on where you live. The actor is currently charged with 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor and 1 count of child A. A pretrial detention motion filed January 14th includes new report of SA abuse, like I said, the 16-year-old girl. So the West Wing alum, 68, surrendered to the Albuquerque Police Department on Tuesday, January 13th, after a warrant for his arrest was issued days earlier. The warrant alleged that Busfield engaged in unlawful SCX conduct with 2 boys. On January 13th, Busfield was charged with 2 counts of criminal SCX contact of a minor and 1 count of child abuse. Prosecutors are seeking to keep him detained while he awaits trial. In a pretrial detention motion filed on January 14th and obtained by People, Busfield faces another accusation of SA. The motion states that another victim's father, Colin, reported to law enforcement on January 13th that Busfield allegedly had essayed Swift's daughter several years ago in Sacramento, California. While auditioning for Busfield at B Street Theater, the 16-year-old reportedly said that Busfield kissed her and put his hands down her pants and touched her private parts. Busfield begged the family to not report to law enforcement if he received therapy, and Swift began a therapist himself, though at the time that was the best thing to do. Busfield founded the B Street Theater in 1986, then known as the Theater for Children. So it was founded in 1986, and his alleged crimes started in 1994. So this is him in a picture. It's just disgusting. Yeah, yikes. The actor who is married to Melissa Gilbert and best known for his roles in The West Wing and Field of Dreams was alleged to have engaged in unlawful sex conduct with two boys, 11-year-old twins whose identities were withheld from the public, and the public arrest warrant because issued on January 9th. Well, yeah. Before he turned himself in on authorities, he filmed a video of himself obtained by TMZ where he claims he didn't do it. So we're going to watch that. It's a very short clip. Basically, he continued that everything is a lie and he did not do anything to those little boys. And he concludes by saying, so hang in there and hopefully I'm out real soon and back to work. I love everybody for supporting me. Thank you. Well, I don't think we support you here, sir. The defendants repeated in the motion pretrial detention, authorities are asking the judge to detain him while the trial is pending. The defendant's repeated sexual touching of the victim's intimate areas combined with the deliberate grooming behaviors establishes a sustained pattern of predatory conduct, the motion says. This conduct demonstrates that the defendant poses a serious and ongoing danger not only to the named victims, but to any child placed within his proximity. sex exploitation of children reflects a profound disregard for the physical safety, emotional well-being, and developmental health of minors, and its evidences a risk that cannot be adequately mitigated through supervision or conditional release. On January 9th, the parents of the victim said the boys met Busfield on the set of the Fox series The Cleaning Lady after Busfield joined as a director in season 2, which aired in 2022, according to the arrest warrant. An investigation began on November 1st, 2024. After a doctor at the University of New Mexico alerted police about the alleged SA. Officer Marvin Brown alleged that two boys, 11-year-old twins, were subject of sex crimes by Busfield. One of the minors alleges that the incidents began when he was 7 years old, per the arrest warrant. The parents were advised by an attorney to take the children to UNMH, where they said professionals suggested the boys were groomed per the warrant. It was later determined, however, that the case did not meet authorities' acceptance criteria at the time. Later, in October of 2025, the victim's mother filed a police report and told CPS that her children both disclosed that there was SA abuse by Timothy around November 2022 to spring of 2024. However, according to the warrant, she was told that because physical abuse had not occurred, nothing could be done. The mother told authorities on September 2nd, 2025 and September 22nd, 2025 that one of the boys told his counselor that Busfield inappropriately touched him. This is sick. And here's another picture of him and his wife. When one of the victims was 10 years old, his therapist diagnosed him with moderate post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety following claims of inappropriate touching. The therapist said the child began having nightmares about the director touching him and waking up scared, and claimed that Busfield had touched and rubbed his private area 3 or 4 times and appeared to be ashamed. He also suffered from bedwetting and other behavioral issues. During an investigation, Busfield allegedly told police that the parents were upset their sons had been replaced with a younger actor who auditioned, according to the warrant. Shortly after, the actor got a call from Warner Brothers informing him they were investigating a complaint. A representative at Warner Bros. Television told People in a statement, quote unquote, "The health and safety of our cast and crew is always our top priority, especially the safety of minors on our productions. We take all allegations of misconduct very seriously and have systems in place to promptly and thoroughly investigate and, when needed, take appropriate action. We have been and will continue to cooperate with law enforcement." Busfield was once ordered to pay $150,000 to a Minneapolis law firm after rejecting Busfield's complaint that the firm fabricated an SA case against him, per report. In 1996, a U.S. District Judge, James Eidman, ordered the actor, who is married to actress Melissa Gilbert, to reimburse the firm Massarelli and Kramer the amount it cost to defend itself in a defamation lawsuit filed by Busfield. After Busfield appealed, the party settled the defamation case. Busfield has claimed the firm made up a story that he essayed a 17-year-old girl. The girl was an extra on the 1993 movie Big Little League, which he directed. According to the Desert News, Busfield settled the underlying lawsuit with the girl for an undisclosed amount. In the January 9th warrant, which we will be reading here soon, this one dating, the allegation was mentioned, this one dating from March of 2012. A 28-year-old woman accused Busfield of battery in an LA movie theater, alleging he slipped hands under clothes, touched genitals for 4 minutes. There was no lawsuit filed, and prosecutors passed due to slim evidence, the warrant states. So there's just a little background on who this man is and all the allegations against him. Yeah, I'll never understand it either, Jakey. It's disgusting to do this. 4 minutes. Yeah, very detailed, right? 4 minutes. Okay, let's watch this 3-minute news clip, and then I want to watch the TMZ clip of him in court today. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Different ages. It's disgusting. Okay, so let me get this pulled up on the screen for you guys. Thanks for being here. Please make sure to hit the like button.
Here in the capital city. Thanks for joining us at 4. I'm 𝗲𝗲𝗆𝗍 𝗠𝗲𝗆.
And I'm Curtis Meng. Timothy Busfield is accused of touching 2 boys while working on a show in New Mexico. And today we've learned he's now accused of sexually abusing a teenager in Sacramento. Busfield appeared virtually in an Albuquerque, New Mexico courtroom today. The judge is holding him in jail until a district court judge takes his case, which should happen within the next 5 days. The actor did not enter a plea, but released a video before his arrest denying he did anything wrong. A pretrial motion filed before today's hearing sheds more light on the allegations against him.
In this motion, we have more information, things that weren't necessarily in the affidavit for Busfield's arrest warrant, including information that there were allegations of previous incidents involving minors and Busfield. Not very specific information, but they do list them. The DA does list them. So the DA is saying, Judge, keep Timothy Busfield in jail pending trial, because if you release him, he's likely to be dangerous to minors. He might leave the jurisdiction.
A father now says Timothy Busfield sexually abused his daughter here in Sacramento when she was 16 years old.
Now, KCRA3 is not naming this father, the man, at this time because it could identify the victim, his daughter. Court documents filed in New Mexico say the father contacted authorities yesterday claiming the sexual abuse happened several years ago at Midtown Sacramento's B Street Theater. He told authorities it happened while his daughter was auditioning at the theater, which Busfield co-founded. Court documents say the 16-year-old girl reported Busfield kissed her and put his hands down her pants and touched her inappropriately. The father says Busfield asked the family to not report him to authorities if he went to therapy. The father, who told authorities he's a therapist himself, agreed to not report the act.
I have a problem with this. The father agreed to not report. This really gets under my skin.
Actor, if he did the therapy.
Now, Timothy Busfield and his brother Buck co-founded the B Street Theater in Midtown Sacramento, and they also established the Fantasy Theater. In the 90s, Busfield pitched for the Sacramento Smokies. He was inducted into the Sacramento Area Baseball Hall of Fame in 2024. Busfield is credited on IMDb as an actor, a director, or a producer in more than 100 projects.
And in fact, he played Mark in Field of Dreams, and Danny Concannon on the TV series The West Wing, and Elliot Weston on the TV series 30-something. In 1991, he received a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor for that role, 30-something. Busfield is married to actress Melissa Gilbert of Little House on the Prairie fame. Her publicist says Gilbert will not comment about the case while the legal process plays out. A spokesperson for NBC says the network has pulled an episode of Law & Order SVU featuring Busfield. It was supposed to air tomorrow. Be sure to stick with KCRA3 News as we work to learn more about Timothy.
How wild is this? It's too much. I know. And we keep hearing it about, these rich people in Hollywood. It's really quite, we're about 2 weeks into 2026, and I'm already having a hard time keeping up with all the crime in PDF files everywhere. So let's watch this clip where he claims he's innocent. It's 51 seconds. Then we'll watch the TMZ clip, which is 2 minutes. And then I want to read the criminal complaint. Gross, right? Sorry, let me pull it up. Oh, take it.
I'm sure most of you, Tim. I'm sure most. Hi, everybody. It's Tim. I'm sure most of you know that are watching this that I was ordered to come to Albuquerque. I'm here now. I got the call Friday night. I had to get a lawyer. Saturday, I got in a car. I drove 2,000 miles to Albuquerque. I'm going to confront these lies. They're horrible. They're all lies. And I did not do anything to those little boys. And I'm going to fight it. I'm going to fight it with a great team. And I'm going to be exonerated. I know I am, because this is all so wrong and all lies. So hang in there. And hopefully I'm out real soon and back to work. And I love everybody for supporting me. Thank you.
What do you guys think? Do you believe him? Hang in there? Yeah, he's telling us to hang in there. I'm like, sir, this is him. The man. Inappropriately touching kids, allegedly. Do you love it? His face on the screen? No, we do not. Creepy AF. Exactly. So my opinions only. I guess he's innocent until I guess he has another day in court, because he had court today. I'm just shook. I'm shook by these. Yeah, yikes. All these Hollywood celebs just. Okay, let's go to his first appearance. This is first court appearance after he surrenders.
Right. Ms. Fairberg, had you had an opportunity to advise him before I call the case? I didn't know if you needed to call over to the podium first.
We've had an opportunity to confer. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead and get started. All right, we're on the record FR 273-2026, State of New Mexico versus Timothy Busfield.
James Plummer for the state.
Amber Fairberg on behalf of Mr. Busfield, Your Honor, who appears in MDC custody.
Good afternoon. Mr. Busfield is set for felony first appearance this afternoon. Counsel, have you had an opportunity to advise your client?
Yes, I've had an opportunity to advise my client of the charges against him, the possible penalties, and his rights. He does not raise a probable cause challenge at this time as a result of the arrest warrant, and I understand, Your Honor, that the state has filed a motion for pretrial detention.
Thank you, counsel. That's correct. It looks like a probable cause was found on January the 9th at the time the warrant for Mr. Busfield's arrest was issued. And Mr. Busfield, the state has filed an expedited motion for pretrial detention in this case, sir. That means you will continue to be held without bond pending your hearing before the district court, sir. That hearing will take place within the next 5 business days. Your deadline for preliminary hearing is going to be January the 29th, sir. Was there anything further from counsel for defense for this state at this time?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. We're off the record.
So basically, he will be held until, I guess, for 5 business days. Not only isn't the father of the girl Amanda reported it, he's a therapist. I'm bothered by this, actually. Good point you make. Yeah, I thought so. And what he just said, oh, I'm gonna go to therapy, so please forgive me, I'll never do it again. And I'm like, did he get paid? You know what I mean? Like, did they pay him? And how much? because I would not, I don't have children, but I would not make some kind of deal like that. Like, what does that do? Don't believe him. He was accused too many times for the same crime. Yeah, we said we went through them at the beginning of the live. So if you missed it, definitely replay. We went through how he, I think it was 1994, and then was it 2012? I can't remember now. But I said at the beginning, he's less believable than Diddy's video. Those are both terrible, terrible, terrible I'm innocent videos, right? He's lying and thinks that he can get away with this disgusting crime. So guilty. I believe it. And there's a connection with the Reiners and him. So we'll maybe be getting into that today or tomorrow, depending on time. But let's get into the affidavit or the criminal complaint. Yeah. I definitely want to go over this. And then we'll move on to the TEPE case. He's disgusting. Allegedly. So let me zoom in for you guys. Timothy Busfield, State of New Mexico, County of 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆 says that on or about the 19th day of October 2022. I believe it. I believe it. You know, people and children who are victims of this crime can repress things. And a lot of the times as you get older, you start coming to terms with what happened. So I don't knock the fact that these crimes happened in 2022 and it is now the beginning of 2026. Yeah, that's sus that we were saying that, aren't they? Mandated reporters, you know, it's SA abuse is very traumatic and it's different for everyone. So I'm not surprised at all that it's now just coming out. And like we read in the People article, you know, they had been having behavior problems. So yeah, the boys were, I believe, 7 or 8. We'll find out now. It says on October 19th, 2022, in the county of Bernalillo, state of New Mexico. Affiant is law enforcement with Albuquerque Police Department. Okay. The affiant knows the full identity of the victim and his brother. However, to protect their identity, their initials will be used throughout this document. I will refer to the victim as SL and the brother VL. So they were born in 2014. So what is that? So how old were they? Yeah, about 7. Do I know how to do basic math? No. Preliminary investigation on 11/1/2024, November 1st of 2024. Officer Osborne was dispatched to 902. Okay. Reference to the caller identified as Dr. Tyler at the University of New Mexico Hospital, who was calling for an SA investigation. Officer Osborne talked with Angel and Ronald, who advised that their children are child actors and had been on a television series called The Cleaning Lady. A new director identified as Timothy Busfield joined the series and grew closer to the boys. It was reported that Timothy would tell the children to call him Uncle Tim. Ronald and Angel told Officer Osborne that they both discovered that there were allegations against Timothy of SA against both women and minors. Ronald told Officer Osborne there had been multiple rumors that Timothy had been handsy with women. Angel informed Officer Osborne that she had asked their children, VL and SL, who were 11 years old at the time, if anyone had ever touched them in a manner that made them feel uncomfortable. The children responded by asking, quote unquote, "You mean like Uncle Tim?" Ronald went to a law firm that recommended that the two take the children to UNMH, which they did. It was reported that while there, the staff there advised it appears the children were groomed. In reference to a CART exam, it was advised that they would reach out for a full CART exam. Officer Osborne talked with both VL and SL, which are twin boys, who did not disclose any sex contact at this time. However, both boys advised that Timothy Busfield, whom they referred to as Uncle Tim, would tickle them on the stomach and legs. Neither boy cared for the tickling. Officer Osborne contacted Detective Michael Brown with Crimes Against Children Unit and determined that the case did not meet their acceptance criteria at the time. On October 3rd of 2025, Angel reported to Child Protective Services that her children both disclosed that there was SA abuse by Timothy from around November 2022 to spring of 2024. Angel advised that she filed a police report, but was initially told by law enforcement that since Timothy had not physically touched the children, there was nothing they could do. Angel advised that her children were groomed and SA'd by Timothy. Angel advised that on September the 2nd of 2025, SL, one of the boys, reported to his counselor that Timothy Busfield touched his penis and his bottom. Yeah. Safe House interviews. On October 14th, 2025, a Safe House interview was scheduled for VL and SL for the morning of October 31st of 2025. The parents. On October 17th, 2025, I contacted Angel by phone, who was out of town traveling with her husband, Ronald. I spoke with the two on speakerphone and advised them that I would be investigating SL and VL's disclosure to their therapist. Angel told me that on September 3rd of 2025, SL disclosed to his therapist, Yolanda, who works at this children advocacy hospital, that Timothy Busfield touched both his genitalia and bottom. Angel also advised that on September the 22nd of 2025, SL disclosed to his pediatrician, Dr. Zoe Howell, that Timothy Busfield touched both his genitalia and bottom. On October 23rd of 2025, I submitted 2 search warrants for the approval of the district attorney for SL's medical records and the mental health service hospital. On October 24th, 2024, I executed both search warrants for SL's medical records. On October 30th, 2025, I received the therapist records from the hospital. I did review of the documents written by the therapist who documented the therapy sessions with SL. Yolanda diagnosed SL, who was 10 years old at the time, with post-traumatic stress disorder at a moderate level. I also viewed an incident report submitted on September 2nd of 2025 by Yolanda that documented SL disclosing that a director of a series in which SL was an actor had engaged in inappropriate touching. Previous disclosures were being touched on the arm, chest, and the back. While Yolanda was updating SL's treatment plan, SL disclosed that the director had also touched his penis and his buttocks. On September 9th of 2025, Yolanda documented SL disclosing having nightmares about the director touching him and waking up scared. SL also disclosed that the director had touched and rubbed his private area 3 or 4 times and appeared to be shamed. Ooh, very disturbing. Sorry, I forgot to give you guys a trigger warning, but you know, it's an SA case, so I figured, but still, trigger warning. This is terrible. These are always kind of tough to get through. So the Pediatric Center. On October 29th, 2025, I reviewed the patient care summary for SL submitted by Dr. Howell. The most recent encounter on September 22nd of 2025 discussed an assessment plan for the SA of a child. I did not find any disclosures from SL during this visit. On June 24th of 2025, Dr. Howell saw SL was accompanied by his mother, Angel, who gave the background of the criminal sex contact involving a member working on a set of a television series, The Cleaning Lady. After reviewing the past medical records, it was documented that SL and his brother were child actors in a show called The Cleaning Lady and experienced grooming and inappropriate touching by a member on set between 2023 and 2024. Both SL and VL were evaluated at urgent care on November 1st of 2024, and it was reported that the Albuquerque Police Department was notified. They had been in therapy since 2025. SL had issues with bedwetting along with other behavioral issues. SL was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety, not currently on any medication. Safe house interviews. On October 31st, 2025, both SL and VL were taken to an advocacy center for a safe house interview. I did watch both interviews, recorded and conducted by a forensic child interviewer. SL was the first child to be interviewed. During the interview, SL told the interviewer that Tim touched him while he was on the movie set. SL told the interviewer that the first time Tim touched him was when he was 7 years old. He described it as his parents no longer having an iPad to watch the set. And when the director, who was Tim, said cut, Tim would come into the bedroom on the movie set and touch SL's private areas. SL provided a drawing to the interview showing how he was alone with Tim in the room. SL said that Tim would grab his waist with both hands while SL was lying on his back in the bed of a movie set. Tim would then touch all over SL's body, including his private area, where SL described his private area as where he poops and pees, also referred to in medical terms as the gluteus maximus and the front area. Bruh, I know. SL said Tim touched his poop and pee area over the clothing 5 to 6 times between sets. After the sets were over, SL said he was scared and speed walked to his father and hid behind his dad. SL said the second time he was touched was when he was 8 years old while he was on set. SL describes the movie set at the same time as the first set. SL said that Tim touched him 3 to 4 times on his poop and pee area over his clothing. SL said he was very afraid of Tim and was relieved when he was off set. SL said he was afraid to tell anyone because Tim was a director and he feared Tim would get mad at him. SL did advise that Tim touched him while he was only on set filming in Albuquerque. I did learn that the television series The Cleaning Lady was filmed at 9210 in on Freeway Northeast Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the city of Albuquerque, the county of Bernalino. VL's interview. During VL's interview, he told the interviewer that his dad was worried about him because Tim was touching his brother and him. VL advised that Mr. Tim was a director of the show, that they had a lot of directors, but Mr. Tim was the new director. VL explained that Mr. Tim started touching them for the first 2 years, and he did not want to say anything because he did not want to be mean to him. Therefore, VL did not say anything. VL said Mr. Tim would start touching him with his hands about his body while they were filming in the house. VL said that it was about his body, but did not disclose that he was touched on his buttocks or penis area. VL said he did not like being touched, but did not say anything because he did not want to get in trouble. The mom's follow-up. On November 3rd, 2025, I contacted Angel to follow up with some questions after SL's safe house interview. Angel talked to me about the iPads that the crew would hand out to the parents while their children would film. This would allow the parents to watch the children while they were filming. Angel could not remember the exact date when they quit passing the iPads out, but advised that it was after Timothy started directing. I asked Angel to explain how SL was allowed to be alone with Timothy while on the movie set when there were other people around. Angel advised me that when the director is directing somebody in a scene, a lot of the time people will let them talk, just the two of them or whoever it is. When the director says cut, a lot of the time people are rushing around trying to get to the next shot. Angel advised that she had started noticing SL becoming uncomfortable around Timothy. She saw this during a live photo that was taken of Timothy and SL. Timothy was caressing SL's head. Timothy Busfield interview. On November 3rd of 2025, I called and left a message with Timothy Busfield asking him to return my call. At 10:44 a.m., I received a call from Timothy, who advised me that I was on speakerphone with him and his wife, Melissa Gilbert. Timothy advised that the two were in New York City at the time. I did advise him that I was investigating a case that was assigned to me and asked Timothy if he would like to speak with me about the case. Timothy did want to speak with me at the time. I did inform Timothy that Detective Josh Dennison would be sitting in on the interview and that I would need to read him the Miranda warning before starting the interview. At 10:47 a.m., Timothy Busfield agreed to talk with me after the Miranda warning. I explained to Timothy that a child disclosed information about something that had happened to him while he was directing the child on the TV show, The Cleaning Lady. Timothy told me that he started directing the show in season 2, close to the final episode, 3 years ago in 2022. Timothy said there were 12 episodes and that it had to be episode 11. I asked Timothy if he remembered if there were iPads for parents to watch their children while they were on set. Timothy said we don't really like that parents had iPads while on set and that it was not a standard process and that they do not encourage it. I asked Timothy if the parents were allowed to have iPads to watch the children before he started directing The Cleaning Lady. Timothy told me that there might have been iPads. Timothy then continued to say that the children were never alone on set without the teacher, a welfare worker, or a parent. Timothy said that he did not know the iPad was taken away and that this would not have gone through him. I asked him if he knew the children who were on episode 11, season 2, and Timothy replied that the showrunners were let go. The creator of the show's option wasn't picked up, and the two boys were replaced by a younger boy whom they auditioned. Timothy said that the parents had a problem with this. Timothy said that in the spring, he got a call from Warner Brothers saying they were investigating a complaint. Timothy said Warner Brothers had an outside investigation through another firm do an investigation. Timothy was told there were complaints about him from the boys. Timothy acknowledged that the boys involved were SL and VL. Timothy said the investigation began in the spring of this year around April. Timothy told me the lead actress, 𝗲𝗲𝗆 Young, said the mother of SL and VL that she wanted revenge, and I'm going to get my revenge on Tim Busfield for not bringing her kids back for a final season. Timothy did describe a bedroom setting along with the hospital setting with a bed or gurney for SL and VL to lie on. This is consistent with the setting SL described in his safe house interview. Timothy advised that he had only directed SL and VL on the Pan American Freeway set in Albuquerque. I did ask Timothy if he ever had any physical contact with these boys and if he ever picked them up and tickled them. Timothy said it was highly likely that he would have. Timothy said it was a playful environment, likely he wanted. However, Timothy said that the dad, Ronald, would make SL and VL hug him, and he really didn't want them to. I did ask Timothy what the protocol was for touching children and picking them up and touching them. I also asked if that was allowed. Timothy initially said, it's not allowed at all. There's no protocol. I mean, I'm always around people, right? It would be, you know, in front of the parents. There would never be a weird moment about it. I don't remember picking those boys up. I remember picking up the boy who followed them. I'd pick him up and he'd be giggling, and that would sort of get him ready to act. Timothy then stated, I don't remember those boys. No, I don't. I don't actually. I don't remember it. If it happened, I don't remember over tickling the boys ever, but it wouldn't be uncommon for me. That's kind of weird. It's not uncommon for you. So you were handsy then. Let's move on. Timothy and his wife, Melissa, did tell me that before this, they did have a relationship with SL and VL and their family outside of work. They advised that they did buy the two boys Christmas gifts and were together on several social functions. 𝗲𝗲𝗆 Young. On November 5th, 2025, I contacted 𝗲𝗲𝗆 to set up an interview. 𝗲𝗲𝗆 agreed to meet with me at the Northwest substation on November the 7th of 2025. I did initially advise 𝗲𝗲𝗆 that Tim Busfield gave me her name and said that she may have information about this case. On November 6th of 2025, 𝗲𝗲𝗆 left me a voicemail declining to speak with me and said that she does not want to be involved with the investigation and that she would not have any information that could assist in the case. The voicemail was uploaded to evidence.com. Taylor interview. On November 14th of 2025, I was able to contact Taylor, who was a production assistant on the television set, The Cleaning Lady, while SL and VL were on the set. Taylor advised me that there would be over 100 people working during the production of The Cleaning Lady. Taylor explained that everyone had their specific job and did not focus on other jobs that were being done by other personnel. Taylor explained that it was not uncommon for groups of different jobs to be done at different times. Taylor did advise me that she remembered the child actors, especially SL and his parents. Taylor advised that she was familiar with the rules that pertain to child actors, and one of those rules was that the child should have a set teacher who would watch the children and advocate for them during production. Taylor said that she remembered SL's set teacher, Lee, who seemed to lose track of what the child actors were doing. Taylor gave me an example that SL was stopped, unsupervised, riding a skateboard through a live set at one time. When Lee was asked about this, she did not have any answer for why SL was unsupervised. Taylor did tell me that she felt that SL's parents were from the industry and did not quite understand their rights as parents. Taylor said that the set teacher's job was to help with this and be an advocate for the children. Taylor said that she had seen directors along with child actors when there should have been a parent or a set teacher with them. Taylor told me that she noticed that SL and VL did not feel like they wanted to be there anymore. When she first met them, they were like very happy, bubbly children. And towards the end of season 2, around the time that Mr. Busfield came in, all of season 3, especially SL, started acting difficult and were not happy. When I asked about touching actors or children while they were not being filmed or scripted, if touching them was allowed, Taylor said that she was not allowed and that it was very unprofessional for anyone to touch or tickle anyone. Taylor remembered Timothy being very touchy with certain people and felt that it was very unprofessional. Lauren interview. On November 14th of 2025, I talked with Lauren, who is a production assistant on The Cleaning Lady, starting at the end of season 2 through season 3. Lauren was familiar with an investigation involving SL, NVL, and Timothy Busfield and advised me that she never saw anything that would require her to report something to the police, but she did see abnormal behavior on the set. Lauren advised that she remembered the room the two boys were filming in and told me that she did see Timothy in the room with SL and VL. Lauren advised that she doesn't remember if they were alone in the room, but advised that it could have been possible due to the set teacher always hanging out in the first team holding area where there were no monitors and she would lose sight of the children. Lauren told me it shouldn't happen. That's why they have set teachers. They're supposed to help keep an eye on that, but it's absolutely possible. Lauren advised that Lee was an older lady and she didn't keep a super close eye on the kids. Lauren explained there was a couple of times they'd be running around and almost get hit by other crew members carrying stuff or crew members trying to dodge out of the way of the kids. Lauren explained that a set teacher should always be monitoring the children before, after, and during the production. Set teachers should be by the monitors, watching the children when they are physically separated from the parents. Lauren said that Lee would not do this, and this would have allowed Timothy to be alone with the children in the room during production. Lauren said that it was frequent that Lee would always be hanging out with the first team. Lauren remembered that towards the end of season 2 and season 3, SL became pretty withdrawn. SL did not seem like he wanted to act and didn't seem like he wanted to be there. They ended up using VL a lot more because he was happier to do the scenes and wanted to be there, and SL just kind of withdrew. Lee interview. This is a very intense document. Hey, Mary Beth. Okay, on November 21st, 2025, I contacted Lee to set up an interview. I did talk with Lee on the phone, who told me she was a studio teacher for SL and VL, which involves educating kids who are working on the set and being responsible for the health, safety, and welfare. Lee told me that she would sometimes monitor SL and VL while on set if they were working in a dangerous situation or a situation where she felt there was a risk. Lee did say that she would hang out by the first team where there was no monitors during filming. I did ask Lee if there was something that stuck out with SL and VL during her time with them. Lee told me SL became very reluctant to be on set, which he wasn't in the beginning. Lee said SL was very enthusiastic about it, and then at a certain point, he just didn't want to be on set. Lee said that whether they were in the schoolroom or at the table right behind the set, he would just have his head down. Lee did not understand why SL did not want to get to the set, but it was pretty clear he did not want to do it. Lee said it was a big change. After talking with Lauren And Lee, I believe Timothy had the opportunity to be alone with SL while he was lying on the bed on the TV set. Learning that the set teacher would frequently lose sight of the children by hanging out in the first teams where there were no monitors allowed, Timothy was left alone and not watched during this time. Warner Brothers search warrant. On October 3rd of 2025, I wrote a search warrant for Warner Brothers requesting access to production records and materials related to an independent investigation into on-set incidents during the time of filming, specifically involving actor Timothy Busfield. Any incident reports, witness statements, or security footage about the referenced events. This information was mentioned to me during my interview with Timothy Busfield. On November 7th of 2025, I received a voicemail from Richard, who identified himself as an attorney for Warner Brothers and requested that I return his call. On November 13th, I called Richard and explained to Richard that I had sent a search warrant for the investigation done for Warner Brothers involving Timothy. Richard was familiar with the investigation and told me he would locate the search warrant and contact his client, Warner Brothers, to see how they would help with the return of the search warrant. I did give Richard my email to contact me. Richard did advise that he would get back to me after contacting his client. On November 14th of 2025, Richard emailed me advising that he had spoken to Warner Brothers and they have authorized him to accept the search warrant and asked me to email the search warrant so they can review and respond. On November 17th, I emailed a copy of the search warrant to Richard. I did request a return on the search warrant within 10 days. I explained to Richard that this information could potentially be exculpatory. On November 21st of 2025, I received an email from Richard who stated below, Detective Brown, my apologies. I got your call earlier this week, but needed to check with Warner Brothers before getting back to you. First, I did receive the warrant and reviewed it with my client. Second, as I mentioned previously, the investigation was conducted under attorney-client privilege. Warner Brothers is working through the process of deciding whether to waive privilege and provide you with a copy of the report. I am hopeful I will have an answer next week and will reach out to you as soon as I know more. Let me know if you have any questions. Richard. On December 18th, 2025, I received another email from Richard, and after I inquired about the return, here's the reply. Detective Brown, I hope my email finds you well. My client has continued its eternal process of evaluating whether to share the investigation report in response to the search warrant, despite the privileged nature of the report. I would like to speak with you about our current thinking when you have some availability. Please let me know if you have time for a call tomorrow or early next week. Independent investigation. On December 31st of 2025, I received the independent investigation requested in the search warrant to Warner Brothers. I did review the independent investigation prepared by Christina, who works at Solomon Law. This document was prepared on March 31st of 2025. On or about February 17th, 2025, an anonymous complainant made a complaint through 𝗝cie_𝗶𝗆 hotline about an incident that allegedly occurred on the set of The Cleaning Lady on December the 16th of 2024. According to the anonymous complainant, who claimed to have witnessed the incident in hair and makeup trailer, executive producer Tim Busfield entered and kissed a minor male on the face as the minor was getting a haircut. The anonymous complainant further alleged that there are pictures of Mr. Busfield tickling and caressing the head and body of minor boys. Elodie Young did talk with Christian and stated she was shocked when Miss Rhoda said to her and her husband that she did not like what this brought out of her, but she would get her revenge against Tim Busfield. Christina was not able to talk with anyone who would support evidence that Timothy Busfield engaged in this behavior. After reading the independent investigation, I wanted to contact other child actors to ensure their safety. While attempting to find contact information on the actors, I received an email from Richard. It stated, Detective Brown, I learned today that you reached out to Barry Halley, who is employed by my client. As I think we discussed previously, we represent the company and its employees. I would ask that to the extent you need to contact any of the employees in the future, that you reach out to our firm as their counsel. Please let me know if you have any issues with our request. Danielle. On December 31st of 2025, I contacted Danielle, who was working on the set with Timothy Busfield doing hair and makeup. Danielle told me that she had been contacted by attorneys prior to my calling. Danielle said that she knew that there was an investigation done by Warner Brothers regarding Timothy's misconduct with child actors. Danielle told me that while she was working with two child actors who replaced the twins, she witnessed Timothy come into the trailer where she was working and kiss the two child actors on their foreheads. Danielle said that both the children's parents were present at the time, but felt that the parents did not know the rules and etiquette. I asked Danielle if it was normal for this kind of conduct to occur, and she advised that it usually was not, and that a designated set teacher should be with the children for safety. Danielle advised that the children were often left unsupervised by the designated set teacher. Danielle said that everyone knew to avoid Timothy because he was creepy. Danielle was very afraid of retaliation for talking with me and was afraid that she would no longer be able to work in the film industry. How often do we not hear that, right? Especially in the Diddy case, like, oh, people were, scared to get banned because of these high profile celebrities. Kristen, on December 31st of 2025, I contacted Kristen, who worked on the set as a hair and makeup artist. When I spoke with Kristen, she seemed hesitant to talk with me. Kristen did not share or act as if she had any knowledge of any appropriate behavior. Warner Brothers made it very difficult to obtain information for this case and waited almost 3 months to comply with a court order to produce an independent investigation. So Warner Brothers didn't want to give up that information. Shady? Question mark. Warner Brothers used attorney Richard to advise me that I would need to go through his law firm to talk with any employees of Warner Brothers when I was trying to ensure the safety of additional child actors. When talking with employees of Warner Brothers, they were afraid of retaliation from Warner Brothers if they talked to me. Sounds like there's been some retaliation there before, allegedly, in my opinion. Conclusion. In my training and experience, pedophiles often infiltrate families under a trusted role like Timothy, who as a producer exploited the hectic film sets to tickle and touch SL on his penis and buttocks, masking it as play. He would invite the family to offset gatherings, with his wife buying Christmas gifts to foster closeness, making SL feel special and dependent. Classic grooming to erode boundaries, isolate the victim, and silence suspicions by blending abuse into normalcy. This dual tactic, charming parents while secretly violating the child, builds a web of complicity that is hard to unravel, delaying detection as families trust the abuser's facade. I discovered that Timothy Busfield has faced accusations of SA, with 2 separate incidents reported in the media, one in the 1990s and another around 2012. Details of the report incidents, which we did go over briefly at the beginning of the live. First allegation occurred in 1994. A 17-year-old extra on Little Big League sued in Los Angeles Superior Court, claiming Busfield assaulted her, served her alcohol, groped her, attempted sex in a trailer. Denied by Busfield, who countersued for extortion. Parties settled privately. His later defamation bid against her lawyers got tossed, leaving him to foot nearly $150,000 in costs. No charges filed. Second allegation occurred on March 18th of 2012. A 28-year-old woman accused Busfield of battery in LA movie theater, alleging he slipped his hands under her closed, touched genitals for 4 minutes. Police took report under code 243.4, but prosecutors passed due to slim evidence. He called it consensual, no arrest, no lawsuit, file closed. SL has been in therapy and has had issues with bedwetting along with other behavioral issues. SL was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety. Yolanda documented SL disclosing having nightmares about the director touching him and waking up scared. SL would also disclose that the director had touched and rubbed his private area 3 or 4 times and appeared to be ashamed. During SL's Safe House interview, SL said Tim touched his poop and pee area over the clothing 5 to 6 times between sets. After the sets were over, SL said he was scared and speed walked to his father and hid behind his dad. SL said the second time he was touched was when he was 8 years old while he was on set. SL describes the movie set as the same as the first set. SL said that Tim touched him 3 to 4 times on his poop and pee area over his clothing. SL said he was very afraid of Tim and was relieved when he was off set. SL said he was afraid to tell anyone because Tim was the director and he feared Tim would get mad at him. Based on the informed facts, I respectfully request that an arrest warrant be issued for the listed offender for the listed charges. Ooh, that's rough to get through. What do you guys think? Hey, Jesse. Hey, TS. Do you believe it? Do young people know Busfield? I don't know that. Let me know what you guys think about that. Do you believe it? I believe it. I do absolutely believe it. I don't necessarily think it's a money grab, but like I said earlier, why would the dad? This is on the step. Well, that's a different, because remember, there's the two boys, and then there's a female that has now come forward and said, the part where the makeup artist says the parents were there when he kissed them. I have questions about that. And then when in regards to the 16-year-old girl, I have questions why the dad also let that slide with therapy. So we will stay caught up on that. That's a lot of allegations. I want to know what mom and dad respond with, right? I believe it. It's probably worse. I believe it. I agree. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated. And if I don't do a live necessarily on the next recent update, I will absolutely upload a video or a short. And I feel for those families and children. That is terrible, terrible, terrible. Now let's switch directions. I know that was a little dark, a little deep, but shout out to you guys for hanging out and listening to it. Those are things that need to be talked about more often, because I know it's hard for people to talk about it. And I know it's like, in certain times and between certain families, those are like taboo topics, sexual assault. So I think those are important topics to talk about and accept without judgment, Shout out to Melanie for going through it. Thank you, Cree. Okay, now let's move on. We're going to move on to the TEPE murders presser. This is Spencer and Monique TEPE, the Ohio couple that was pew-pewed by her ex-husband. This is about a 10-minute press conference. And then I want to watch a little bit of Nancy Grace, and we'll end it at that. If you're not familiar with this case, I do have 2 lives on it that I think were very well done and gave a lot of the information. It is out of Ohio. I have not watched this. I believe this was just released today. So let's watch that real quick. Oh, my bad. Okay. It's like 10 minutes.
In Columbus Division of Police providing an update. Elaine Bryant is at the podium.
Police patrol officers were dispatched to the 1400 block of North 4th Street.
Wait, I don't want to miss any of it.
Right now, we'll get you right back to the game. There's an update on a major case in Columbus. Columbus Division of Police providing an update. Elaine Bryant is at the podium.
About it. So just wanted to go over a little bit of the timeline. On December 30th, 2025, at approximately 10:04 a.m., Columbus Police Patrol officers were dispatched to the 1400 block of North 4th Street on a well-being check. Officers arrived at scene and located the 2 adult victims suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. We now know that they were identified as Mr. Spencer TEPE and Mrs. Monique TEPE. Their 2 small children were also found in the residence, physically unharmed. On January 10th, 2026, detectives filed warrants charging Michael D. McKee, 39, with 2 counts of murder in the deaths of Spencer and Monique TEPE. Mr. McKee was arrested in Rockford, Illinois without incident. He's currently incarcerated in the Winnebago County Jail and awaiting extradition to Columbus. We believe at this point, we have the person responsible for the murders of Monique and Spencer TEPE in custody, and that person is Michael McKee. This is still an active and ongoing investigation. Detectives are still going through evidence, tips, and videos. We can't speak to all the specific details related to this case, so we don't want to jeopardize the ultimate goal of conviction. But what we can say, this was a targeted attack. This was a domestic violence related attack. As we know, 𝗲𝗊 is the ex-husband of Monique TEPE. We can say that we have the suspect's vehicle on neighborhood video surveillance arriving just before the murders and leaving shortly after. Detectives were able to link this vehicle to 𝗲𝗊. The vehicle was located in Rockford, Illinois, and evidence was found that showed 𝗲𝗊 in possession of the vehicle before and after the homicides. We can also say that multiple weapons were taken from the property of 𝗲𝗊. And there is a preliminary link from our NIBIN to one of the weapons that ties it to the homicides.
Wow.
I want to say that our detectives work around the clock to be able to solve this case. But it's equally important to know that while this is gaining national attention, we work around the clock to solve all of our homicide cases. I'd like to bring the mayor up now to have him say a few words.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all for joining us this morning. I want to thank Chief Bryant, the women and men of the homicide division who have done an incredible job on this case and so many other cases, 100 cases solved in 2025 because of their tireless work and professionalism and tips and information from the community that helped us achieve such incredible solve rates. I want to thank also members of the press for sharing timely information, including the video footage of the person of interest that we know now is Mr. 𝗲𝗊. Members of the community for supporting CPD's investigation and for continuing to pray and support the TEPE family, particularly these little children. Just want to take a moment to express gratitude, grief, and resolve, not only for myself, but for the entire Columbus community. Grateful to the Division of Police for their professionalism and persistence and for their tireless work and collaboration that led to this arrest. You followed the facts and evaluated every credible lead with intentionality, integrity, and care for the victims and their families. I also want to thank members of the community who stepped forward with video footage and tips.
Okay, Tracy Townsend and Colin Dorsey here. We have been bringing you live coverage of Elaine Bryant and Andrew Ginther talking about the TEPE murders. We are covering this because it has gained national attention. We're going to take our coverage over onto 10TV Plus.
Right, that's free to download right now in your TV. Put it on there for free, but for now, our Price is Right viewers will send you back to regular programming.
And our residents. I pray this collaboration will help us prevent violent crime from happening in the first place. But it's also a powerful, powerful tool for solving crime when it does occur. The tips that were submitted in this case mattered. And I'm grateful to the residents and businesses who shared information. As Chief described, this was a targeted domestic violence attack that resulted in the deaths of 2 people and irrevocably changed the lives of their children, families, colleagues, and friends. Our hearts remain with Spencer and Monique, their loved ones, and especially the children impacted by this unimaginable loss. As this case now moves through the criminal justice process, we'll continue to respect this investigation and allow investigators and prosecutors to do their work. As Chief said, we will not do or say anything that will compromise the likelihood of a conviction. One thing we can still offer this family is the best possible chance at a conviction and justice for this unspeakable crime. We could also continue to lift up this family in our thoughts and prayers. I will continue to lift up every one of the 84 families that lost a loved one due to violence in 2025. I know the Chief and the Division of Police will too, in their thoughts and their actions. I know this case has taken on national interest, but I want to tell each of these families, these 84 families, CPD pursues every case with the same intensity, commitment, and resolve. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, sir. We'll take any questions at this time.
Chief, can you comment on a motive in this case? I mean, why did he allegedly kill Monique and Spencer and also leave the children alive?
At this time, we cannot comment on the motive. Again, part of the investigation.
Did you find any other evidence in this home in Lincoln Park?
What I can tell you is that we did search his property and we have evidence, but I can't speak to any specific evidence.
You said there were no signs.
Can you tell us which police agency arrested him and where he was taken into custody in Rockford?
Sure. This case is a great example of partnerships. So our partners with Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, federal agents, took him into custody very close to his place of employment.
What can you tell us about McKee's whereabouts between the day of the crime and the day he was picked up?
Part of the investigation, unfortunately, as we talked about, we're not able to share specifics, but what we can tell you is that we have evidence that he was there during the time of the actual homicides.
You said there were no signs of forced entry. Are you able to say any more about how he got into the house?
Unfortunately, we're not able to talk about that at this moment.
Is there any indication he had interactions with the kids or the kids may have seen or heard anything at this point?
We don't have that information. Again, part of the investigation, there's just certain things we can't talk about.
Neighbors had said that they had seen McKee in the neighborhood and in front of the TEPE home days before the homicide. Can you confirm that?
At this time, we're unable to talk about specific information, but again, when we get additional information, we'll be more happy to share it to the public.
I know this is an ongoing investigation. I don't know if you can say this, but obviously they were divorced. Are you able to say anything about their relationship after that divorce? It was in 2017. Were they civil? I know he had a second wife as well.
Again, there is, the investigation is still ongoing. Just understand, we're still collecting information. We're still going through a lot of evidence, and there's just some things that we can't speak to right now.
Can you talk about the extradition? Will you be going to Rockford and pick him up, and when will that happen?
I'll let you speak to that.
Sure. We have policy related to extraditions. Felony warrants out of state are primarily handled by extradition companies. And so the determination of whether or not it will be detectives from Columbus or an outside entity, likely an outside entity, but the logistics are being worked out as we speak.
Any idea when that will happen?
I don't know when that will happen.
What kind of weapons did you find in his home?
We can't speak to specific weapons, but we did recover multiple weapons from the home, from his property.
How quickly was McKee a suspect? I know that family told us they pretty much assumed that he was behind this crime.
What I can tell you is that every piece of evidence, every tip that we received, we immediately began to investigate it. So I can't give you a specific timeline, but any information that came in was immediately evaluated and investigated.
Are you able to say about how many tips you received? Obviously, people became really attached to this case.
Do you know specific numbers?
We don't have an exact number of the amount of tips that came in, because some of them were the same or similar. So it was numerous, and it was from multiple sources, which was greatly appreciated from the community, the media, the past individuals that were knowledgeable and familiar with the family, and then the residents of the area, which ultimately led us to this day right now.
We know digital forensics
We know digital forensics and DNA play a big role in investigations these days, but it doesn't happen in 60 minutes with commercial breaks. Is there any sense of the timeline of when some of that information will become available to you guys through that testing?
We're continuously looking for information, waiting for information. Unfortunately, we can't give you a specific timeline, but we're continuously working to get that information in.
The family mentioned that Monique previously said that he had been abusive towards her in the past. Was there any evidence or indication of that prior to this incident?
What I can tell you is that we did not have any reports, or we did not have any information related to any type of incidents regarding the ex-husband and Monique.
Can you tell us if McKee and Mrs. TEPE had any contact leading up to this incident, months, weeks?
Any stalking concerns there?
Again, what we can share with you, we are sharing with you. There are some things that we can't share for investigative purposes, but what I can tell you again is that we didn't have any reports or anything linked to that specific location as it relates to the ex-husband and Monique TEPE.
Do you believe he's the person in the video that you shared, the person of interest?
We do.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you've been listening to a.
Okay, so I have like a couple things to say about this because this case has me shook. Okay, so my first thought is like, how does one who is so smart and successful, right, do something like this? There's a lot of, I think we don't know a lot of information, but regarding the DV, just because there's no report of it doesn't mean it wasn't happening. So I want to just make that clear. Clearly, something was happening because she wanted to divorce him, right? And this is my opinion. This is my opinion only. And clearly, I think back to when we did the first live and I said something like, oh, the employees at his work were real quick to jump on it, right? Jump on him not being at work. And I've just been thinking like, could perhaps, he have said something to his employees or his coworkers, and could perhaps the family had already been aware of issues with the ex-husband, and maybe they were aware that, he was being a little too much. Like maybe he shared that at work with his boss. He was emotionally or physically abusing her, or, something of the sort, because they were real quick to be concerned when he didn't show up for work. And clearly, like I said, she divorced him. So there were obviously problems there. So, and they were divorced. Yeah. Very short time. And then my other theory about how did he get in the house, it brings me back to the live we did earlier about the Idaho 4. Could he have been stalking her? Could he have been watching her? Could he have been there previously when she wasn't home? If he knew enough information about her, which I believe he did because they were married, could he have figured out the passcode to the door? I think there's a lot of theories there as well, but those are just a few of mine. And then, how did they get such a precise time, the 3:52? That's when he committed the crime, is because, well, one, someone could have reported that to the law enforcement, right? Like, oh yeah, I did hear, something. Imagine you're sleeping. Because let's go back to the whole door thing. Like, nobody who's going to come pounding at your door at 2 a.m., right? Like, and they had a multiple level house. So I feel like, could he have gotten there at 2 a.m? No, I don't think that was the case. I do think it was possible he was kind of stalking her. And I believe that, they figured out the time of the crime, perhaps by a Ring camera that heard the gunshot or gunshots. And then, or perhaps someone, when they heard him, woke up and remembered like, oh, hey, yeah, I did wake up, that morning and I heard something. Could it have been fireworks, etc.? Hossein says, I think the passcode was anniversary. Yeah, they're saying anniversary or birthday. I mean, that's easy to, if he was married to her, he would probably know that information. And then we also talked about in the previous live, like, how does one sit idle for 8 years and then suddenly pew pew to people, right? My theory is that he had mental health issues, whatever those be. And I think that he was a doctor, he was successful, he was, from what I hear, controlling. And so I feel like the fact that he had failed at something he so badly desired, which was her, because he didn't want to leave, he didn't want to get divorced from her. I think he was obsessed with her and I think he loved her. And I think that he ruined it for himself, right? And so I feel like, could he have been stewing on it for that long? Yeah, I do think so. Could he have been watching her and been involved? I mean, people can hack into people's phone as well. Like, there's so many ways that you can stalk someone and find out information about them, whether it's social media, whether, people that know her, etc. So what made him snap? I'm not sure, but I feel like he already had photos of them and was lurking on their social medias and whatnot. So, And I think he wanted that, you know, he wanted what she was having with another man. And that goes back to my theory of what happened in the house. I think that he shot Spencer more times because Spencer probably was in defense mode. So I think that those are my theories. And then also, you know, he had Michael, the ex-husband, had issues in other states with malpractice lawsuits and stuff. So could that have been a factor into his mental health well-being? Sure. There's, you know, accordingly, he was being sued and in the middle of an investigation. And I haven't gone into that too deep, but I think he was angry. I do think he was angry and wanted her for that long of time. I do. He was an orphan and he made her kids an orphan. If he threw a lot of parties, the door code could have been known. In my parents' neighborhood, and I just want to say this like as an example, in my parents' neighborhood, their neighbors like sometimes they're like, "Oh, what's the code to the door?" And like they're like 183, and I'm like, I just heard that, you know, like I think it's very easy, and we live on a day-to-day, you know, speed, and I think that I do think he was a narcissist, and I think that, you know, he could have accessed information easily about her. Yeah, I think he's a narcissist and was gonna make sure she was not happy. And, you know, we talked about, you know, the S word when one takes their own life, and schmurder. We mentioned it in the earlier live with the 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆 lawsuit. Well, it's actually the families of the victims with Washington State University, but could he have maybe was planning to take his own life? That's a possibility as well. I think that when one has suicidal ideations, I think it opens like a portal in the brain, you know, in the psyche that like if you can take your own life or take someone else's life, this is just like my theory that they're kind of like they coincide, you know, like he probably didn't want to be here. And so he figured, and those are the people that ruined it, you know. Spencer took my girl and he's living the life, he's in the position that I should be in. And she left me, ruined my life. You know, I already don't want to be here. What is it to just kill two other people? And I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like in a psychological sense that if he had thought of it, maybe it was that much easier for him to do it, you know, and why he spared the children. I'm so glad that he did, but I also wonder that dynamic as well, you know. So I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm not a psychologist, but I feel like I'm onto something when I think of like maybe he was not happy and had mental health issues. But anyways, let's watch this short clip on law and crime, and it's regarding, I think they have another family member on here, so I just want to get through. Are there any public records on the ex? No, but that's what I mean, like, you know, just because she didn't file police reports or anything doesn't mean that something wasn't happening, whether it was emotional, verbal, or physical abuse. You know, she left him, divorced him quickly for a reason. And she seems like a very beautiful person. She was very happy from what I hear. From sources that she, you know, she was very lovable. She was very kind and beautiful, and she was good to her husband, and they had beautiful kids, and she was a great mom. So, you know, my heart just breaks. It breaks. And I wouldn't doubt that she didn't report a lot of it, you know. But let's watch this law and crime clip.
She would just call him her ex-husband, and just how much of a monster he was, to be honest, emotionally abusive and threatening.
The brother-in-law of Spencer and Monique TEPE revealing details about Monique's ex-husband, Dr. Michael McKee, who's now accused of murdering the couple as their children slept. Were you surprised that the arrest was made?
No,
This comes as Columbus police speak for the first time since McKee's arrest, revealing new details about the evidence.
This was a targeted attack. This was a domestic violence related attack.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix.
And I also wonder, like, what do they have information maybe on their cell phones or devices or something? I wonder what the text messages leading up to this, had they searched him? Will we get a search report like we have on Kenzie? Like, I'm curious to see all the documents and information in this case, because I want to know if he had been stalking her. And they recovered multiple weapons from his property. One of them, they said that it matched, they knew it was used in the crime. I mean, they didn't say those exact words, but they were like, we have, preliminary thought or whatever to think that we recovered the weapon.
When Spencer TEPE and Monique were shot to death in the middle of the night as their young children slept, their family and friends were heartbroken, shocked, and saddened. It happened on December 30th, police say just before 4 a.m. And a member of the TEPE family tells me there was just one person that family and friends suspected of the chilling crime: Dr. Michael McKee, Monique TEPE's ex-husband. Days after the homicides, Columbus police released surveillance video of a shadowy figure walking down the street around the time of the murders, hoping that someone could identify this man. Monique married Michael McKee in the summer of 2015, but records show they separated 7 months later in 2016. But the couple didn't file for divorce until 2017. Records show Monique and Michael McKee had moved to Virginia from Ohio. Michael McKee was completing a residency. He had studied medicine at the Ohio State University. But Monique was not happy in Virginia and returned to Columbus, Ohio, while McKee remained in Virginia. And I can tell you that Michael McKee did not want this divorce, not at all. A spokesperson with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms told me that they worked with Illinois State Police and Rockford Police to take McKee into custody on January 10th. That was a Saturday morning. The address where McKee was taken into custody comes back to a Chick-fil-A restaurant near the medical center where McKee worked as a vascular surgeon. Now, days after the arrest, and after McKee appeared in court, Columbus police are releasing new information and details about the investigation and evidence they say ties McKee to the murders.
We believe at this point, we have the person responsible for the murders of Monique and Spencer TEPE in custody, and that person is Michael McKee. This is still an active and ongoing investigation. Detectives are still going through evidence, tips, and videos. We can't speak to all the specific details related to this case, so we don't want to jeopardize the ultimate goal of conviction. But what we can say, this was a targeted attack. This was a domestic violence related attack. As we know, McKee is the ex-husband of Monique TEPE. We can say that we have the suspect's vehicle on neighborhood video surveillance arriving just before the murders and leaving shortly after. Detectives were able to link this vehicle to McKee. The vehicle was located in Rockford, Illinois, and evidence was found that showed McKee in possession of the vehicle before and after the homicides. We can also say that multiple weapons were taken from the property of McKee, and there is a preliminary link from our NIBIN to one of the weapons that ties it to the homicides.
Now, this information about a firearm being seized from McKee's home that has been linked, at least preliminarily, to the homicides is a major new development in this rapidly unfolding case. One reporter said at the press conference that neighbors had said they'd seen McKee at the TEPE home in the days before the homicides, but the police chief, she wouldn't confirm that information. And there are other questions surfacing. Did Michael McKee have any other relationships with women after Monique? Did he remarry? That's a really big question right now. And I've learned from sources that Michael McKee spoke to detectives early in the investigation and offered an alibi, but that story crumbled under scrutiny. McKee appeared in court earlier this week in Illinois and waived extradition, meaning he will return to Ohio without a fight to answer to these premeditated murder charges.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your position at this time?
Yes, at this time, Your Honor, On behalf of Mr. McKee, I will assert his right to counsel. I will assert his right to remain silent. And Mr. McKee believes that the most expeditious manner in which he may defend himself against the charges pending in Ohio and to plead not guilty would be to waive his right to an extradition hearing and to have a governor's warrant and to agree to his immediate transportation to Ohio.
Now, just this past weekend, friends and family gathered to mourn Spencer and Monique TEPE, the dentist and stay-at-home mom, the mother and father to two young children who, thank God, were unharmed in this double homicide. The TEPEs were loved by so many. So I want to bring in Rob Misla. He is the brother-in-law of Spencer and Monique TEPE. Rob, first of all, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. How are you and the families doing right now?
I think the past 2 days were bittersweet, but also probably the hardest days that we've experienced, especially Monday with the burial service, just kind of saying the final goodbyes was something that none of us ever imagined we'd experience. So trying to go back to work and live a normal life again is something that's impossible. Number one. Number two, just, there's just like a lot of grief takes a long time. So
I know you all just had the funerals for Monique and Spencer. That had to just be so difficult. I mean, you all should just be looking forward to the rest of all of your lives together. And I know I saw on Facebook that you were putting a video together for the service.
Yeah, I mean, I was assisting with kind of the photo slideshow. I'm going to put something else more heartfelt, I guess, together soon, just to honor them. But yeah, I mean, everybody in the family had some role to fill. There was maybe, I think there was more than 1,000 people there.
Wow.
Which the funeral home said it was the largest they'd ever seen. I think that's just a big testament to who Monique and Spencer were and how impactful they were.
Look at how happy they are in their wedding pictures. Oh, my heart.
Saturday, when you guys got the news that they had made the arrest, what were your feelings and the family's feelings?
It obviously doesn't bring them back. It doesn't reverse this entire situation. But to feel just some little bit of relief, it felt like some of the weight was lifted, especially the timing of it going with the funeral the next day.
He's very tall and very big.
It's step one in the entire process, but at the same time, he's not convicted yet. So we're steadfast in making sure that all of these stones are unturned and that he's he doesn't walk free again. So
were you surprised that the arrest was made?
No. I had no idea about the timing or who the investigators had as suspects, but I can just say that very early on, speaking for at least the TEPE side of the family, that we were pretty sure who did this.
And why was the TEPE?
Remember I said earlier, their families had to have known something was up and why she wanted to divorce him, Yeah, I feel this man's pain. I know.
Side of the family so certain that he was the primary suspect, that he was going to be the person that law enforcement arrested and charged.
And again, yeah, I'm just trying to speak for the TEPE side of the family because, Monique's side had obviously a different relationship with her. They've known her since she was born. For us, we met Monique in 2018 when Spencer first introduced her to us. But we were fairly certain because of just what Monique had told us stories wise of her. She never called him by name. She would just call him her ex-husband, and just how much of a monster he was, to be honest, emotionally abusive and threatening. And, she did everything she could to extricate herself from that situation.
So he was a monster. And, the family probably couldn't say anything because before he was arrested, maybe it taints the evidence. A monster, they called him.
And, met Spencer and lived a very happy life. But I can't speak for Monique, but I know that it changed her as a person. And perhaps it was always in the back of her mind. I don't know.
Had she ever spoken to you about it, or Spencer, or did you just hear about a lot of this after the fact?
No, we were aware. She wasn't shy about talking about it, and how it had impacted her kind of mentally, just as a person going forward. So we had all heard stories and had talked to her deeply about these situations, but at the same time, we were all thinking this is something in the past. And Monique is clearly happy right now and has a family and is with the person that she loves. So while we were aware of it, we were also more awestruck by the couple themselves and how much they were in love.
So they were aware of it. Like I said at first, sounds like it was pretty bad. I'm getting that it was pretty bad. And she asked for a expedited divorce as well. They hired a private attorney.
Did Spencer and Monique ever voice concerns to you, or did Monique voice concerns that she thought this guy just was going to show back up, or that he wasn't letting go of the past?
I would say that she was always worried about him. But at the same time, we never thought that it seemed like a direct threat. And she never mentioned, like, of recent, at least to me, that that he'd been in contact with her or anything. So that's all I can say, I guess.
Mm-hmm. From the moment that this happened, it sounded like, from what I'm hearing from you, that you all thought immediately that this was Dr. McKee, that this was the guy. Did the family obviously say to law enforcement, to the detectives, that you've got to go talk to this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just the family. I know friends, former coworkers of Monique, a lot of people were aware. And she wasn't, something that I really loved about Monique is she wasn't shy about talking about these experiences. I think kind of as just maybe a therapy. But yeah, I think I can't imagine how many tips they got that were leading to him.
Wow. You can see in the paperwork, they were married for like 7 months, and then the paperwork's not filed for over, it sounds like, a year.
7 months. She was like, I can't.
So was this like him just trying to get back with her, or do you know anything about that?
I mean, yeah, that would be my suspicion. For her to, you can see in the court documents, just give up the house and not fight for it. It was very obvious that she had to get away from him. And it seems as though he didn't believe that. He didn't understand why, I guess. I've never spoken to this person, and I hope I never do speak to him.
Yeah, this guy sounds like a real piece of work. And thank you, Kat Randall. Member for 14 months. Wow, Kat Randall, you're up there. Thank you for supporting me for so long. I appreciate you and adore you. You make this world a better place. Thank you. You make this world a better place too. Thank you for that support. Sometimes people accidentally marry the wrong person and it lasts less than a year. Ask me how I know. I think I know why, Double yikes. The family totally knew he was a monster. I'm a little surprised he left the children alive.
But I think it
I don't
just
mean that in a sense of, that I was hoping he wouldn't. I'm just saying that considering it shows his rage specifically towards them two, like I said earlier, Spencer now was in his position and he was angry at her for ruining his life. And thank you, Kat Randall, gifting 1 membership. Oh yeah, Triple P got it. Yay! That's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations, Triple P. And thank you, Kat Randall, for gifting a membership. That is so very kind of you. Let's
there was a
continue.
lot that she didn't mind giving up any kind of equity in anything just to be removed from him entirely.
We saw your wedding video, and it was of Spencer and Monique, and it was very beautiful, very intimate, inside their home. I mean, they looked so happy and joyful, and everybody was just so happy, and she just radiated joy. That's like the best way I can describe it when I look at her. Obviously, I didn't know her. I want you to tell me about Monique and Spencer. Your feelings about them, your thoughts about them, what you want people to know about them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that the wedding video can be kind of proof of what their love was like. But they were also way more than that. They were just good people. They were active in the community. They were popular neighbors, and the amount of people that I've met through them who have just become my friends, they were really kind of the center of this orbit, the nucleus, I guess, of so many people. And beyond that, they're obviously amazing parents. And you can see them in both of their children, good or bad. They both were, they were different, but they were also the same. They balanced each other out really well, I think. They were just fun people to be around, and kind of lit up the room whenever they walked in.
Can you imagine how happy she was to found him who treated her well?
And
yeah. Spencer, he was a dentist. And I know that Monique was a stay-at-home mom. I'm sure she was just devoted to the children every day. What was Spencer like?
Spencer was equal parts goofball, class clown, athletic jock, and just brilliant dork, I guess, for lack of a better term. You really can't pigeonhole him because he kind of existed outside of the bounds of what like a stereotype would be, I guess. I mean, he was the life of the party, but also just one of the most responsible people that I'd ever met. And it just showed, like, the amount of friends that showed up to mourn his loss was just it was incredible, to be honest. And the amount of friends that I have through him, I think really speaks to how both of them just created this bond between people. They never compartmentalized friend groups. They just brought people together.
How is the TEPE side of the family doing? I mean, your wife, she was Spencer's sister. I mean, how are they coping right now?
Everyone's been incredibly strong. While, the waves of grief kind of come and shift as they do. My wife specifically gave just an incredible speech at the funeral that had people both in absolute tears of laughter and in tears of sorrow. I think she put it perfectly described who Spencer was, not only as a brother, but as a person.
Robin, the statement that the family put out the other day, it talked about wanting to see this, full accountability. What does that mean for the family?
Means whatever sentence the judge chooses on all of these counts that he's going to be charged on, because we feel very confident that he is guilty. He is the one that did this, and that justice will prevail. And again, we have so much confidence in not only the Columbus Police Department, but the investigators and all police that were involved.
𝗏𝗲𝗆𝗆 told me around the time that detectives believed that Spencer and Monique were murdered, his wife, who is Spencer's sister, she awoke. And he believes that was a sign of sorts that something was wrong.
So the night that this happened, I was up late in our basement, and I was editing a video, and it was around 3:30, 4 a.m. right in that time frame that investigators had said they think this occurred. And I can hear upstairs my wife, who was dead asleep, kind of get up and shuffle around very quickly. And then I heard her walk over to where our fridge is and get some water, and then go back to bed, and don't think anything of it. And the next day I asked what was that? She said, I just got this horrible pain in my stomach, like I had to throw up. And she also didn't think anything of it until she got that same pain when we first got the call. So I truly believe that between siblings like that, they were that close and they had that sort of connection. And she could physically feel it. So,
oh my gosh. Well, our hearts go out to your entire family. 𝗏𝗏𝗆𝗆𝗆, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and sharing your thoughts and your memories of Monique and Spencer with us. And we'll be following this and keeping you in our prayers.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Michael McKee remains in the Winnebago County Jail. Columbus police are working with a private company to bring him back to Ohio to face those 2 aggravated murder charges in the deaths of Spencer and Monique TEPE. So
that's painful. You can tell he's just distraught. There's a couple minutes I want to watch of the Nancy Grace segment. If you know Nancy, you know Nancy. I love Nancy. So let's watch that. It's also on this. She has Joseph Scott Morgan on, who I love. I think he's just great.
Tiny correction. Dave Mack, wouldn't he have to take the Ohio Turnpike for over 300 miles to get away from that crime scene and end up in Winnebago?
Yeah, he'd have to go about 324 miles from Columbus, Ohio to Illinois. So, yeah, he was traveling quite a good distance. You're talking 6 hours on the road, Nancy. It's not just across town. We're talking a pre-planned event of driving a long way.
Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, this is the time. And some. And
sorry, Nancy. No promo.
Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan, death scene investigator with over 10,000 death scenes to his credit. Joe Scott Morgan, you have analyzed what we know so far. What jumps out at you?
I think the thing that jumps out to me, and first off, look, I mean, I'm glad that y'all are pleased he's in Illinois. I'm glad he's in custody at this point in time. I ain't interested in that. You know what I'm interested in, Nancy? I'm interested in what was left behind in Ohio at this crime scene in Columbus, where this family's life was completely wrecked, where these people were butchered. And I got to tell you, Nancy, there's something that has been I've been noodling with. They keep talking about multiple gunshots that were fired here. We know, at least at this point in time, that there are 3 spent casings. Those are the brass shell casings that are left after.
Wow, how happy do they look?
After the weapon is fired. These are lying about the room. We don't know precisely where they were. But let me tell you a little something. This ain't 10 years ago, all right? Now we have methodologies like the Bordeaux method, where we can actually take a spent casing like this, okay? And now we have the ability to collect almost 22 to 25% more DNA off of a fired round now, all right? They've begun to be able to isolate it. All along the edges here, these irregular edges, we're not necessarily talking about the shaft right here, but these irregular edges, you'd be surprised what we can extract. So no matter how careful he was, if he was handling this ammunition, which I assume that he would have been, in order to load this weapon, the magazine, there is a high probability that this can be extracted off of the surface, not to mention new technology that we have that can lift latent prints. You know, in the past, heat would destroy these things. There's a whole new world that's opened up. So I don't care how bright he is, how many degrees he has. I don't care how long he's been working as a vascular surgeon. There's always a way to catch him.
Joe Scott, let me follow up with a few things that you just said. But first, I want to talk to you about blood evidence. The difference between high velocity blood mist. We know a 9mm was used in at least 3 gunshots fired, I believe, while they were in bed. Or maybe they were trying to get out of bed when they realized he was standing over them. It's my wild guess right now. One of the friends that came in said he's half off the bed, something to that effect. Okay, so you've got high velocity but blood mist versus blood spatter, not splatter, but spatter, versus blood drops, such as what we saw in the Jodi Arias murder of her lover, Travis Alexander. As he stood in front of the bathroom mirror, we see blood dropping from his nose and face where he's dying. And we can tell because it's a drop as opposed to a drop with a tail. How do you compare that in placing him at the scene at the time the shots were fired?
Okay, let me tell you this.
Spatter, drop.
Yeah. Okay, with mist, let me give everybody a hint at home, and you can do this on your own. Get a can of aerosol hairspray. Go to your mirror and just pump it one time onto the surface of that mirror. That'll give you an example of what we're talking about relative to high velocity deposition. It does become a mist, all right, and just kind of floats about, and the droplets are very, very tiny. And that's because you have a round that is going supersonic, right? Going above the speed of sound, and it's slamming into a target. And when it does, it creates this histamine-like mist. Now, if you've got this kind of passive dripping that we see with not really passive dripping, that's another category. But if we have like medium velocity, that's going to be more like a strike with a hammer, okay? If you've got low velocity, that can actually be a bloody nose where somebody is dripping like this. And here's the thing I'm thinking. If he is in the dark, he knows where the bed is, Nancy. If he approached them, let's just say he's kind of standing over them as he has fired this weapon. Remember, supersonic, right? He fires this weapon into their body. There can actually be a deposition that could come back on him. You know that hoodie that we're seeing him walk back and forth with up and down that alley? I hope that thing has not been incinerated. I hope that he has not gotten rid of it, because if they went to his domicile and they recovered this thing, there's no telling. This thing's going to light up. It will light up when they apply fluorescent light to it, when they begin to, or black light to it. They'll be able to appreciate it perhaps with luminol. You never.
I wonder if he did get rid of that. So they were sleeping. Maybe he was standing over the bed. Spencer was half off the bed. Makes me think that Spencer was gonna in defensive mode. That's why he was shot more times as well. Is my theory.
No, but there could be deposition on there as far as the blood of the victims. We don't have.
And I absolutely love this man.
Any indication that there was kind of like personal contact between him and them. We don't know about any injuries on him, but what I'm interested in from a forensic standpoint, it's hard for a defense attorney to explain away deposition of blood of the victims onto the alleged perpetrator.
And very often, Joe Scott, isn't it true that perps don't think about their shoes? But if the shoes that are worn at the time of the shootings, they can have blood on them as well, even up in the shoelaces or in the Velcro. Now, another thing,
Nancy Grace is peppy and smartass to everyone and mean, but I've never seen her act like that with Joseph Scott Morgan, because he's just so, amazing.
A lot of times, crime scene investigators, law enforcement don't think to look up. But when you see the blood on the ceiling, that tells you exactly where the shooting took place down to the inch. Explain.
Yeah, it really can. One of my mentors, Dr. Noguchi, famously said he always looks up at a crime scene when he walks in as opposed to looking at the bodies, because you take in the totality of the environment that the bodies are found in. What's really interesting about this case, Nancy, is that you had mentioned that they're on a bed. You know what's going to be key here is I worked countless cases where we have blood deposition on headboards, and people don't think about headboards, particularly if headboards are dark. I'll be interested to see what they have collected at the scene for the purposes of testing. So let's just say that there is a headboard on the bed. They're in a normal anatomical position in the bed where they're lying, I don't know, supine, maybe they're prone. I have no idea. And they're shot in the bed. Well, that blood can be literally deposited on the headboard. I've worked cases where we have taken the entire bed out, but specifically taken the headboard out of people that were actually murdered in their sleep, and it will tell a tale there, even if it's the tiniest bit of blood, okay? And how that presents, we can begin to think about the trajectory of the blood deposition from point. You see us at scenes where we will pull these kind of trajectory rods. We don't just merely do that with fired rounds. We also do that with the deposition of blood as it's thrown into the air and lands on a surface, and we can kind of calculate that. It's interesting that he is partially off the bed, Nancy. My big question is, did he have an awareness this guy was coming into the room, or did he move after he was shot?
I think he had an awareness. I think perhaps Spencer was like getting out of bed or something when that man walked in and shot him. Or maybe he was already standing there and kind of made it half off the bed. Oof, I feel like it's more brutal than we think. I do. What a handsome couple they were. Yeah, and now their children. It's terrible. It's terrible. So that was the Nancy Grace. If you want to finish it, go and watch her channel. It does continue on for a little while, but I just thought that was very good information. Again, we will stay updated with this case. I don't exactly know or have a next court date, but nonetheless, if I can stream it, I will. If not, we'll do a recap. If more documents get released, I will get those as well. RIP to Monique and Spencer TEPE, and their kids. My heart breaks for the kids. So sad. I would wake up easily because I was listening to the babies. Yeah. I know. I just wonder the story, with the kids, and how'd he get in? Had he been stalking her? A lot. So my heart goes out to the family and friends of Spencer and Monique TEPE. I will keep you guys updated. Like I said, video, live, short, anything that we hear, I will definitely come back and we can go through it together. Shout out to you guys for being here. Please hit the like button on the way out. Turn on your notifications. We do have a late night live tonight, so I hope to see you guys there. I think he was stalking her. Yeah, even if it was just via social media or something at first, but very sus man. They said he made it to where the kids wouldn't be able to see what happened. I think he was hiding somewhere in the house. See, this is what I'm really, I want to know that part for sure. And if there was blood, what Joe Scott said too is like, did he get rid of the evidence? Yes, I have a lot of Mackenzie coming lakeside. I actually had a Kenzie live tonight, so I'll decide if I'm going to do Kenzie or Epstein. I do have Epstein live scheduled. So like I said, turn on your notifications. If I don't get to Kenzie today, we will do 2 Kenzie videos tomorrow. And I do have a video dropping tonight, calls, which we'll be reviewing and that stuff as well. So turn on your notifications, hit the like button on the way out. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you, Kat Randall, for the gifted membership. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.